What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Ring the Bell Show. I'm Chris Francisco. Dean Holzapple's here with me. I think this is the second time since we've been doing Ring the Bell that it's just Dean and I this week.
Yeah.
Jason Kent, he has another podcast that he runs himself based on the Dallas Cowboys. And as we are recording this, the Cowboys and the Giants are about, if they just, I guess, just did kick off. So that's good. But before,
I'm not a Cowboys fan.
I know, right?
I just need the Giants.
So before we talk about miserable things, this did start the NFL Week 1 season, man, and both of our teams took W's today. The San Francisco 49ers, from my side, handed the Pittsburgh Steelers a massive, whopping loss. And then the New Orleans Saints, the new look New Orleans Saints, Dean, with Derek Carr getting one out there.
Yeah, baby.
It's a pretty good other than the Phillies just ruining a lot of things for me. It was a really good weekend, so I'm excited moving forward. But look, this ain't a football show, this is the Philly show, and look, we're not going to spend a whole ton of time on here tonight because it was just a brutal weekend, and I'm not going to blame anything on the offense. As the Phillies lose 2 of 3 against the Miami Marlins. As always, we're in September. Here come the Marlins strolling into town, and they find a way to take 2 or 3 at a huge weekend series against the Phillies. And I think that's where I'm pretty much going to start. You take away Ranger Suarez's incredible start Sunday afternoon. The Phillies pitching, man, overall bullpen, starting pitching, including,
seriously,
has just been so rough as of late. And it starts obviously. And look, this might just sound like a repeated thing here with us, but again, we cover this team almost every day. We have 2 live shows a week, which means there's going to be a couple times we're going to see Aaron Nola. So. Dean, it's like it just never fails anymore with this guy. He gets a really big chance to win a big game, to come in with a great start on Saturday. Thank goodness the Phillies were able to, tack 8 runs on the board. But Aaron Nola, just again, the second consecutive start, he couldn't even reach 5 innings, 4 1/3, 7 hits, 4 runs. Another home run given up. Look, I think you and I can agree that if I was going with a game 2 starter right now, it would be Ranger Suarez probably.
Absolutely.
But Nola's going to get it.
Or Walker, because they just seem to always win his games.
Exactly. They're 20 and
he's
7.
He's not pitching great, but he's winning game. He's putting them in a position to win.
Exactly.
That's the biggest difference between him and Nola. Everybody knows my thoughts on Nola, and we rail about it all the time, but he doesn't put this team in a position to win. He got lucky last night. He almost blew it, and then the offense just took a bigger lead, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's frustrating because he's so untrustworthy, like completely untrustworthy. Anytime he hits a mound, it's like, I'm expecting 3, 4, 5, 6 runs, and the offense always has to catch up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look, it was shaping up to be a really good Sunday afternoon. Trey Turner homered again, Kyle Schwarber homered again. Ranger Suarez carried a no-hitter through 6 innings, had a career high 10 strikeouts, and then
he had a no-hitter at one point too.
He had a no-hitter through 6 innings, and then he lost the no-hitter with 1 out in the 7th inning, and then I felt like everything unraveled after that point. He allowed 2 straight doubles that played to 2 runs. Matt Strahm comes in and again has a bad outing. Was unable to strand the inherited runner. He walked the guy, then gave up an RBI single. Then Sir Anthony Dominguez comes in the 8th and gives up a massive 2-run home run. If you go back to Friday night, the Phillies led by 2, and then Dominguez gave up a game-tying home run to Jesus Sanchez. He really is.
He's got nothing.
His command is awful. I mean, he's at a point where I feel with How I feel with Dominguez right now is how I felt about Alvarado a lot last year. Is when that ball comes out of Dominguez's hand, he doesn't know where it's going.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
that's a huge issue because they've got to figure out, because to get where they want to go, they need Sir Anthony Dominguez, they need Jose Alvarado, they need Matt Strahm to be those guys that come in. Because again, the Philly starters for the most part, outside of Wheeler, aren't going to go beyond 6 innings.
No.
So you got to make 9 outs.
Yeah.
And you got to figure this out.
No question for you. I was watching the game. We had a TV on in the living room along with the football games as well. But I didn't exactly see what happened. Could Marsh have gotten that fly ball that kind of, I think, put them
I
up,
don't think
down
so.
by 1?
Yeah,
okay. And they didn't show a replay of it, so I couldn't tell if he was close and just didn't really try for it or not. So
I don't think he would have been able to get to. I mean, that ball was hit hard.
It was hit hard, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, but overall, look, if you look at Dominguez, he has a 4.25 ERA with 4 losses and 7 blown saves this season. He has just 8 strikeouts in his last 11 innings, and during that stretch, his swinging strike rate on his fastball is down from 19% to 12%, and his whiff rate on on his slider, which is one of his best pitches, is down from 22% to 13%. So the Phillies really need to get him going before the playoffs. You know, their bullpen has been one of the best in baseball since June 1st, but Alvarado, Gregory Soto, Dominguez, they've shown signs, like you've said, of being a little cooked here. They've been slipping. Soto has allowed 9 runs in his last 9 1/3 innings, and Alvarado has walked 6 guys in his last 7 innings since returning from his elbow inflammation. It's just the Phillies were 22-12, Dean, in 1-run games at one point, but have lost 8 of their last 9. It's like the bottom now is just all of a sudden falling apart. And this is something that you said in the middle of August, and I hate when you're right most of the time. You said in the middle of August that the Phillies, you were really worried that the Phillies were going to bottom out in September. And it feels like that smoking hot August completely, like, almost just derailed the momentum into September.
Yeah. I mean, this is exactly what they did last year too. They were awful in September and they just happened to limp into the playoffs, but they got super hot and got to the World Series. So, you know, you can't knock it. If there's one thing about the Phillies that we all can agree on is that they are unorthodox in literally everything that they do. So they get hot in the wrong months and they get cold in the right ones. Or you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, of course.
You know, the months that they need to be hot, like September, they need to be. And thankfully, they still have a 2-game lead on. Who's right behind us? Still
the Cubs.
The Cubs, and then they got 4 games over Arizona. So, we didn't lose much, but you know, we don't have. I mean, get the Braves coming up, which could very well be a sweep. But they play the Braves a couple times over the next couple weeks, so that's going to be killer for us if the rest of our team opponents, you know, continue to do what they need to do.
Of course, and I think the Phillies are just lucky right now that they're still 2 games ahead,
and a big enough lead to where it didn't matter.
Exactly, but again, you are right though. Like, these games against the Marlins were massive. Now that you've got this series against the Braves coming up here.
Did you see the stat last night with Nola that I think he's like 5-13 all time against the Marlins?
Oh my god!
Like, that's terrible. You know, I don't want to always knock Nola, but if you're going to tell me this guy is an ace, all of Philadelphia, you can't be going 5-13 against the Marlins, who predominantly are dog shit all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. But you're right. I mean, when you. This is, and we say this all the time, and I know you guys hear this stuff a lot, but it has to be said because, you know, we don't do a podcast about the Atlanta Braves where we could just come on here and talk about a win every day.
Yeah.
But
hey, guys, we've got 90 wins. Cool.
And so like, this is a Phillies team where you have a 4-game set starting tomorrow with the Braves, including tomorrow being a day-night doubleheader.
Yeah, I'll be at that game.
Oh, that's phenomenal. That's awesome. Yeah. That's great. That's good. Hopefully it's a fun time. So you have the 1 o'clock game, which is the makeup from June. I think it was like June 21st for the postponed game. But still, man, if you could have just taken 2 out of 3 against the Marlins, my confidence level going into this 4-gamer against the Braves is significantly higher than it is right now.
Yeah, who do we have going tomorrow night anyway?
So let me get this for you here.
I'm sure they got Spencer Strider going, so I'm sure they'll get shut out.
So game 1 is Taiwan versus Charlie Morton.
Okay.
And then game 2, they have Lorenzen, and I don't know who the second guy who's pitching for the Braves yet, but Lorenzen, who I'm sorry, I mean, he's been brutal lately.
Yeah.
But let's hope for something.
Something. Give me a standard start. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And again, we've talked about this before, where for a while, I guess you could just even point to July and August, where if the Phillies pitchers gave up 6, you're like, you know what's okay. The Phillies are going to score 8 to 10 anyway. I'm now worried that if the Phillies don't score 6 to 8 runs a game, I'm not content that they're going to win the ball game.
Yeah,
and that's where I'm at with the pitching staff.
Yeah, because that was really telling to me last week against was the Nationals, I think. Mm-hmm. We had a 8-1 lead and we won 9-7. We talked about it on last week's show, or that was 2 weeks ago, one of the two.
That was the Padres. They were up 8-1.
Yeah, that's right, Padres. And I said to myself, I was like, man, this should not happen against teams that
never.
And it's just been like spiraling out of control pitching wise pretty much ever since.
Yeah,
bullpen, at least in the bullpen, you know. That's not good. That scares me. That really scares me a lot. That the arms are cooked, they're dead, no confidence because nobody's locating their pitches at all. I think it's unfortunately I think it's going to be a short playoff run. I don't want to be negative. I want nothing more than to see this team win another World Series in my life. But this pitching staff does not look good right now, almost from top to bottom.
Agreed. So let's let's get to some positive stuff before we move in to the rest.
Yeah, Kyle Schwarber, baby.
Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner continue to just literally just destroy baseballs.
Cassie had a nice hit today. I've been hard on him. He had a nice hit today.
I mean, yeah. I mean, hey, look, he's the hate on Cassie lately is deserved. But you're right, it was a big hit. I mean, the fact that he was bumped down to the 8th spot. A guy making $20 million a year is hitting 8th. It's just you can just tell it's weird. You always know who Topper prefers over the other, where he makes a choice of who he's going to bump down the lineup over others. Whereas, I mean, again, I'm not here to pick on Schwarber, but I'm just making a point that he could be hitting 90.90 for a month and a half, and he won't come out of the leadoff spot.
Yeah.
But you have a 270 hitter in Cassie who's been struggling, bump his ass down the 8th. So it's like, it's just weird. You always know a little bit who he favors. But when you look at Trey Turner, he homered, 2 pitches into the bottom of the first inning that bombed the center field. Yeah, Schwarber homered 2 innings later, another bomb, his 43rd of the season.
Good swing too. Nice.
Oh my gosh.
Beautiful swing.
Schwarber has 16 home runs in his last 30 games, while Turner also has 14 in his last 30. Simple math tells you that that's basically a home run from one of these guys every night for a month.
It's getting to the point, not to cut you off, it's getting to the point where Schwarber is when in the playoffs last year, he was like the only guy I really relied on besides Bryce Harper.
Yeah, you're right.
Basically, they came up to the plate, and I was like, this is either going to be they're going to get on base or it's going to be a home run. Like every single time they came up. And
I agree. And I got to say sorry to Dean because we were in our group message, which was, dear Lord, it was
got pretty violent today.
Yeah, it was in the words of the great Marty McFly, it got real heavy in that group thread. But Dean brought up, how Schwarber came through big during the postseason. And I, for some reason in my head, Jason said, did you watch any of the games? That was funny. But then I was like, I don't think
a playoff game last year.
Yeah. Then I don't think Schwarber did have a good postseason. And then I go on Baseball Reference immediately, of course. And I'm like, he was pretty damn good in the postseason. And I was like, okay,
who wasn't very good? The rest of the team.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Bryce Harper and Schwarber literally carried them to the World Series.
Yeah, it's and then you look more on Sunday. Schwarber had a chance to give the Phillies a lead. Late on Sunday when he came up with runners on second and third and 2 outs in the bottom of the eighth, but he struck out
Looking
looking.
at a ball right down the middle of the plate. I think he did it last night too, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
There was a ball. It was right there, and like that does drive
Mhm.
me. It could be anybody in the world. Give me my favorite player of all time. If that ball
Yeah.
looks anything remotely close to the middle of the plate, just swing at it.
I mean, Dean,
That bugs me more than anything by any batter ever.
and you're right, because Dean, since we were like 5, what are you told by coaches with 2 strikes? Anything close, you're
Swing.
swinging.
Yeah.
It's like it's elementary, right? So,
or you could be like me and I just swing at everything and hope for the best.
That's funny. But look, I'm not going to rip Schwarber because an inning prior with bases loaded, 2 outs, Alec Boehm strikes out looking with a pitch again right down the middle of the plate.
Yeah.
So it's not just on Schwarber, but it's he's the guy you look at. He's the 40 home run guy. He's going to have 100 RBIs.
Yeah.
But then look, Turner, was
just ready to get 50 home runs again for all we know.
Yeah, and then you look an inning later, Turner was hit by a pitch. Bryce Harper walked again to put the tying and winning run on base with no outs in the ninth. Alec Boehm again comes up, grounds one double play, and then Bryson Stott strikes out to end the game. So look, as much as people on this show, not going to say any names, but the 2 that aren't here, we'll go with that, want to shred, Schwarber for a lot of things. It's usually a collective effort. Did Schwarber strike out looking in a very key point of the game? Yes, he did. Mm-hmm. But it shouldn't have gotten to that point because the inning prior, you had one of your best hitters up the plate with bases loaded, and he strikes out looking. One of your best hitters comes back up again with the winning run on first base, and he grounds into a double play. Yeah. So
double plays are more killer than striking out with looking at a pitch.
Exactly. So to me, look, and we'll talk about it now real quick before we get into other things, but just to let everybody know really quick, over the last, 21 games, Trey Turner has arguably been, in the last month, maybe the second best player in baseball, other than, Acuna and Mookie Betts. He's got 11 home runs, 24 RBIs in his last 21 games. 337 batting average, a 400 on base percentage. Over his last 10 games, he's got 8 home runs, 18 RBIs, and a 400 batting average. So, Trey Turner has just been an absolute monster for this team over the last month. And guess what? So has Kyle Schwarber. And that's where I'm going to segue into this is, and I'm like you, Dean, and we text about this often. I'm really done with the Kyle Schwarber hate. And look, I've always come on here. I'll lay down on that sword. And I'll say that for a long time, I couldn't stand the guy because I would only look at that batting average. And again, I'm an old school baseball guy. Batting average does mean something to me.
Absolutely. Me too.
However, I have to also look at everything else. When I look at everything in a vacuum, I look at this and I go, all right, the batting average is awful. So if I take the batting average out of the equation, let me look at everything else. And then you look at everything else. 43 home runs, 94 RBIs, over 100 walks. He's touching 100 runs. This guy is a legitimate machine at production. He is producing nonstop for the Phillies, and it's been incredible. And over the last 23 games, he's hitting 260. Over his last 12 games, he's hitting 275. Like, he's getting on base at over a 430, 440 clip. Kyle Schwarber is, other than Trey Turner the last month, is the most productive Philly.
Imagine if he could do this the whole season. He'd be running away with the MVP.
He'd
have like 100 home runs.
It's like MLB The Show. Kyle Schwarber's got 98
it's
home runs.
My character I created where I had to buy the tokens to take steroids in the game to make my guy better so I can get to the majors immediately.
Yeah, it's just funny. But you look at Kyle Schwarber, and look, if you're asking me right now if I'm going to be upset about this team and who I'm going to be upset about, Kyle Schwarber doesn't even make my top 10 list. I mean, he can't. I don't understand. And John brought up the point of, there's so many other leadoff hitters that I would take right now. And then, of course, he mentions Mookie Betts, who's arguably the best overall baseball player other than Acuna. And, I look at a guy like Julio. Those three guys are just above and beyond everybody else.
Yeah.
And then, he looks at like a guy like Christian Yelich. But you look at these other guys, and I look at myself. He's only focusing on batting average, and when you're only focusing on batting average, you're completely depleting everything else that the guy is bringing to the table, which is he's pretty much got the highest numbers across the board on the entire team. Like if I'm looking at a dude that's probably going to hit 45 home runs, 110 RBIs, over 100 walks, 100 runs, I'm looking at this like that's a pretty spectacular season. And to me, the argument,
no offense, Chris, not to cut you off though. Yeah, Yelich might have a 274 batting average, but Schwarber has 30 more home runs than him and 24 RBIs more than him.
How many more walks?
And only 50 more strikeouts. Hold on, let me pull up the full
okay,
stats.
Only 50. Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's got 131 strikeouts. So
okay.
Walks. What is Schwarber at right now with walks?
He's got 115 walks.
Yelich has 71.
Yeah, so it's so to me, the guy just gets on base more, hits more for power.
Yeah.
And I get it. And the argument that is now
Yelich is a good player too. I'm not trying to diminish him.
He's a very good player. Yeah. He also makes a lot more money than Schwarber does.
Yes, he does.
So remember that. So the argument that I can't accept anymore regarding Kyle Schwarber is that, well, it's because he's a leadoff hitter. Again, that's not his call. Yeah. If you're going to have heat with anybody on the Phillies regarding Schwarber, you got to blame the manager. The manager bats him leadoff, and the manager still puts him out in left field defensively. If you ask Kyle Schwarber right now if he should be playing left field, Kyle Schwarber himself would say to you, no.
Yeah, I guarantee you he does not want to be playing the outfield.
Exactly. And, John, made a couple slanderous comments towards Kyle Schwarber saying, he'll complain. Yeah, and he'll complain to the manager, and he runs the team. And I ask because I come from that world where I have to make sure I'm factual with statements that I make.
That's like dirt sheet wrestling crap.
It is. What he said was dirt sheet stuff, and it's all bullshit and innuendo. And I came back with the question, because no one ever seems to answer my questions when I ask them things, is show me a direct quote. And then if you can, show me send me some audio that backs up Kyle Schwarber ever in the media complaining to anybody that if he was out of that leadoff spot, he would complain to the manager and be he'll pout up and down the locker room and he'll have big issues, big issues, Schwarber. And again, just didn't happen. Nothing. You know what he sent me? He sent us a copy and pasted quote from Rob Thompson. That's my point.
Yeah.
That's it. If you're going to blame someone for not liking who's your leadoff hitter, you blame the guy who hands the lineup card to the umpires every single day. And that's the manager. But again, you're going to look at a guy like
Schwarber also has a higher on base percentage and OPS
than Yelich.
Yeah.
Well, it's just.
And Yelich barely has a bigger. I'm sorry, he has a higher slugging and OPS, and Yelich has barely like 0.20 higher on base percentage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question would be to somebody else then: if you remove Kyle Schwarber from the leadoff spot, who is going to be placed there? Who would you rather have there right now? That's like who? I mean, who? And then I'll say this to somebody else: if you want to move him completely off the team after this year, and you're not going to bring back Rhys Hoskins, let's just say, how are you going to replace almost 80 home runs and 200 and something RBIs in that lineup?
Yeah,
just replacing
Kyle Schwarber. They'll move Castellanos before they move him. This guy, I know. We argue all the time about him and stuff, but he is way too valuable to this team.
I agree.
Move off of him.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just the truth. I mean, like, who cares where he hits? Again, I'm an old school minded guy. Like, I wasn't even cool with the DH in the National League until it happened. I was like, no,
I love it.
It's got to be separate. Like, that's how old school I am. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, sure, when I would prefer my leadoff guy to be hitting 300, it'd be perfect. But who cares if he's hitting leadoff? I say it a million times. Who cares if he's hitting leadoff or fourth? He only truly leads off once a game.
Yeah. And
which is
another,
bad of the game, and he usually does
I
something.
I agree. So look, unless he goes, 0 for his next 35, you're not going to hear any complaining from me regarding Schwarber because look, if the guy goes on a slump now, I completely understand. He's had to carry for the most part, other than Turner, this offense for 2 months.
Yeah.
And there's only so much I can expect out of Kyle Schwarber. But look, and to kind of wrap things up, I do want to kind of also rip Topper a little bit here. On Friday, Chris Sanchez was pitching a gem. He had 5 innings, 4 hit ball, 4 strikeouts, and then was taken out after 82 pitches, Dean. And that's when Sir Anthony comes in and lets up two earned runs and got lit up. And then Stram came in and gave up another earned run. What is going on here with Topper? Chris Sanchez has been a pretty reliable guy out of nowhere since he's come up. 82 pitches in 5 innings, and you're removing him from the game? Like, is that where we're at now? Where if you're even remotely going to go into an inning that you're going to touch 90 pitches, got to get him out. Got to get him out. This is driving me absolutely insane.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Topper is loyal to guys, and he's loyal to the guys that helped get him to the World Series last year, which is the bullpen was pretty lights out in the playoffs.
Yeah, they were.
But this is my issue with Rob. He is very slow to make adjustments, and this bullpen is really struggling, and he just keeps throwing Sir Anthony out there, and Kimbrel has not been very good lately either.
No.
So, and it's just obviously, you only have so many arms you can use, of course, but like Dominguez just blew a game. You can't be putting him back out there this quick, and he blew this game. I mean, I know the runners were Rangers' responsibility. They were his, but when you're expecting a guy who can throw like Sir Anthony to come in, I don't want to see him giving up, runs or earned runs, whichever they may be. His job is to come in and get out of that situation. He's just not doing it. So you can't do it. Can't do it. It's going to be a short postseason if that happens.
I agree, man, and that hurts to say, but all right. Look, we're gonna obviously hop out of here. This is our normal time that we do on a Sunday, but look, this is the series we've been talking about for about a month now. Is where will the Phillies be by the time they get to that mid-September 4-game series against the Atlanta Braves? Yeah. This series, just to let everybody know, by the end of this series, the Phillies could be in the second wild card spot if things go real south, which they absolutely can. You're facing the biggest juggernaut in Major League Baseball. Yeah. So, Dean, what are you expecting out of the Phillies? What are you expecting here from the Phillies in the 4-game set against the Braves, and then the weekend series against the Cardinals? So 7 games this week for the Phils.
I think I'm thinking I could see them going 2-5, but I'm going to say 3-4. I don't think they're going to play well against the Braves. It's probably going to be a 1-3 series, and then 2-1 against the Cardinals. The Cardinals just aren't very good, but I mean they're struggling right now, so they could go 7, like I always say, because they could. And this team has, I agree. They're so like I said, they're the most unorthodox team in this league. So they can go 7-0. And next week we're gonna be like, "Oh, this was awesome," and we're right back to, making posts about how great Aaron Nola's form start.
You ain't lying, man.
The Instagram page.
All right, so I had the Phillies going. I don't even know why, but I had the Phillies going 4-3, and I say that now. Let me
split.
Now, hear me out here. Actually, I think they take. I personally think they only win 1 game against the Braves, and then I think they sweep the Cardinals. So that's where I'm at with that. The Cardinals aren't great, but I just feel I wish I could come on here and have more confidence in the Phillies. If you would have asked me 2 weeks ago going into this series against the Braves, I'd feel like I could even say you're going to see a split. Maybe the Phillies could steal 3 or 4. The Phillies play the Braves very well, but I just
They
don't.
can times, yeah.
Yeah, so I just don't know how it's going to go this week, but I'm just not hopeful right now. So yeah, I'm going to go 4-3, and that's only because I think that's going to come off the back of a 3-game sweep next weekend against the Cardinals. So we'll see. So Dean has them 3-4. I have them 4-3. We'll see how it goes. Anything worse than that, it's going to be very troublesome for the Phillies. But look, head over to manscaped.com right now. Use our code baseball20 for 20% off and free shipping. Again, head over to manscaped.com. Use our code baseball20 for 20% off and free shipping off your order. Head to SeatGeek.com right now. Use our code on the bump for $20 off your very first ticket purchase. I was looking for tickets today to go to the 49ers game on New Year's Eve at the Commanders. So pretty good prices there. So I'm going to see if I need to find somebody to go with or multiple people to go with.
It will always be the football team to me.
Yeah. You'll forever do that.
Yeah.
And then
greatest name in football history. I don't care what anybody says.
I know. Maybe I'll try to force my wife to go with me to the game. That would be great. We'll see. I can't wait for that. She's going to come in just screaming Redskins all over the place.
I'm pretty sure most of those fans will be with her.
I know, that's true. I've been to that stadium many times, and it is just I'm sorry, but it's a shithole. So, yeah. But it's still a nice place to watch a game because you're actually pretty close to the action, which is pretty neat. And hopefully they're 1-13 by that point, 1-14. So
they won today, though, didn't they not?
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah.
So you're gonna. I guess they'll
that's
go.
It. They're not going to win the game. That's it. Call it a day. Yeah, the Eagles. It's embarrassing that they won that game. They should feel embarrassed that they beat the New England Patriots 25-20.
Fans are already lining up on Brawl.
But look, nonetheless, this is a Philly show, and we're super excited for this week, but we're also on the back of it just extremely worried. Head over to what is it? Our new. I guess you got to go find it because it's right here. Here we go. Yeah, head over to ringthebellshop.myshopify.com. Our shop just opened. We got koozies, hoodies, T-shirts, and long sleeve shirts that are on there. So thank you to everybody who's already picked up a few things. I really appreciate that. As the fall goes on, we're going to be adding more items to the shop. So be out on the lookout for that. Follow us up and down all the socials at ringthebell856 for everything. X or Twitter, whatever you call it these days, Instagram, and of course YouTube. Smash that like button if you're watching on YouTube. Give us a subscribe. Obviously, head over to Apple Podcasts. Give us a star review and a rating. It would be greatly appreciated. We're doing fantastic over there, and I really do appreciate everybody who downloads the show and listens to the podcast. But definitely check us out all over YouTube, anywhere you guys follow us or follow myself. I'm at ChristyFran3 on Instagram. On Twitter. So definitely check us out there. That's Dean Holzapple. I'm Christy Francesco. Big week coming. Here we go. Hope you all have a great week, and we'll catch you guys. Let's see. We will see. Yeah, Wednesday night because it's a doubleheader tomorrow. So we'll see you guys here again Wednesday night, hopefully with some good things to talk about. All right. We'll check you guys out. Have a good one. And as always,